In the heart of an ancient forest, nestled within the gnarled branches of a mighty oak, lived a little sparrow named Pip. Pip wasn't like the other sparrows. While they chirped about berries and worms, Pip's heart fluttered with dreams of grandeur. He possessed a voice that was truly remarkable, a melody so pure and enchanting it could make the rustling leaves pause to listen. Every sunrise, he would perch on the highest branch, puff out his chest, and fill the forest with a song that shimmered like morning dew. The other animals would gather below, their heads tilted in awe. The deer would halt their grazing, the squirrels would stop their scurrying, and even the grumpy old badger would poke his head out of his burrow, a rare, soft look in his eyes. Soon, praise became Pip's favorite food. "Oh, Pip," the rabbits would sigh, "your voice is a gift from the sky." The wise old owl, Professor Hoot, would nod gravely and say, "Your talent is unparalleled, young one." Pip soaked it all in. The admiration was intoxicating, and with every compliment, his head swelled a little bigger. He began to see his song not as a gift to be shared, but as a crown he wore. He started practicing new, complex trills and daring vocal acrobatics, not for the joy of music, but to dazzle and outshine. He'd look down at the other sparrows, with their simple, cheerful chirps, and feel a sense of superiority. Their songs were mere noise compared to his art. Why did they even bother? One afternoon, as Pip was in the middle of a particularly ostentatious performance, a gentle breeze whispered through the leaves. "A storm is coming, little one," it murmured. "A big one. It's wise to strengthen your nest and gather with your family." Pip scoffed, interrupting his song with an annoyed chirp. "A storm? Please, my song can calm any storm. Besides, I am far too busy creating beauty to worry about a little wind and rain." The other sparrows, however, heeded the warning. They flew off in a flurry of activity, weaving twigs and reinforcing their nests, chirping warnings and encouragement to one another. Pip watched them, a smirk on his beak. "Such simple, fearful creatures," he thought. "They don't understand art. They don't understand greatness." He simply fluffed his feathers and began another soaring aria, convinced his own brilliance was the only shelter he needed. The sky began to darken, not with the gentle gray of an afternoon shower, but with an angry, churning purple. The wind, no longer a whisper, began to howl, clawing at the branches of the old oak. Pip, for the first time, felt a flicker of unease. He tried to sing, to push back the encroaching darkness with his melody, but the wind snatched the notes from his beak and tore them to shreds. Rain began to fall, not in drops, but in stinging, icy sheets. The mighty oak tree groaned and swayed violently. His small, neglected nest, built for show and not for strength, began to unravel. Twig by twig, it was ripped apart by the gale. Panic seized Pip. He clung desperately to a branch, his feathers soaked and heavy. The world was a terrifying chaos of wind and water. He was no longer a celebrated artist. He was just a tiny, shivering bird, alone and afraid. Below, in the sheltered hollows of the oak's roots, he could hear the faint, muffled chirps of the other sparrows, huddled together. They weren't singing beautiful solos. They were just chirping, a simple sound of community, of shared warmth and safety. And in that moment, Pip would have given anything to be down there with them, to trade all his glorious solos for a single, comforting chirp from a friend. He cried out, but his voice was swallowed by the storm. Just as a particularly violent gust threatened to tear him from his perch, a sturdy wing shielded him. He looked up to see Professor Hoot, the old owl, his large, yellow eyes full of concern. With immense effort, the owl guided the terrified sparrow down the trunk of the tree, into a sheltered crevice he had prepared. Shaking uncontrollably, Pip collapsed, exhausted and humbled. Professor Hoot wrapped a wing around him. "Talent is a fine thing, little Pip," the owl said softly, his voice a low rumble against the storm's roar. "But it is a poor shelter against the storms of life. A strong nest, built with care and a flock to huddle with. That is true strength. Pip looked at the owl, tears mingling with the rain on his face. He finally understood. His beautiful voice was a gift, yes, but he had twisted it into a monument to his own pride. He had sung to be above others, not to be with them. And when the storm came, his pride offered no warmth, no safety, no comfort. The storm raged through the night, but inside the crevice, Pip was safe. He wasn't alone. Professor Hoot stayed with him, a silent, reassuring presence. When the first rays of dawn broke through the clouds, the forest was transformed. Broken branches littered the ground, and the world was washed clean. Pip emerged, blinking in the new light. His grand nest was gone, completely vanished. He felt a pang of loss, but it was quickly replaced by a profound sense of relief. He was free. He flew to the lower branches where the other sparrows were emerging, checking on each other. No one mocked him. No one said, "I told you so." A small brown sparrow, one he'd often ignored, hopped over and offered him a berry. Pip took it, and for the first time, he chirped a simple, quiet, "Thank you." It wasn't a performance. It wasn't a dazzling display. It was just a sound, a connection. Later that morning, the sparrows began to sing, not for an audience, but for the joy of the sunrise, for the relief of surviving the storm together. Their simple, happy chirps filled the air. Pip listened, and then he joined in. He didn't try to outshine them. He didn't add any fancy trills. He just added his voice to theirs, becoming part of the chorus. His melody was still beautiful, but now it had something it lacked before: humility. It was a thread woven into the tapestry of the community, making the collective song richer and stronger. From that day on, Pip never stopped singing, but he no longer sang to be admired. He sang to celebrate, to comfort, and to connect. He learned that the most beautiful music isn't a solo performed from a lonely height, but a harmony shared with others, a song strong enough to withstand any storm. Thanks so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more tales that explore the heart. Stay safe, stay connected, and we'll see you in the next video.